The summer heat in Miami was unbearable that July afternoon, but 15-year-old Marcus Williams didn't care. He'd been waiting outside the exclusive Ball Harbor training facility for 3 hours, clutching his phone and hoping for just one chance. Not for an autograph or a selfie, but for something different. Something that had been eating at him since he'd started his YouTube channel 6 months ago. Marcus wasn't like other kids who hung around celebrity spots. While they screamed for attention and thrust phones in famous faces, he observed. He watched how people moved, how they spoke, what made them tick. His channel, Real Talk with Marcus, had gained a modest following of 12,000 subscribers who appreciated his thoughtful interviews with everyday people about what truly mattered to them. But today, he was taking the biggest risk of his young life. Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. emerged from the facility looking exactly like his father, the same confident stride, the same perfectly styled hair, the same designer workout gear that cost more than Marcus's family spent on groceries in a month. At 17, Cristiano Jr. already had the bearing of someone who'd never known want, never questioned whether he belonged in any room he entered. Marcus had done his research. Cristiano Jr. wasn't just famous for being Ronaldo's son, he was genuinely talented, already being scouted by major European clubs. His Instagram had 8 million followers. His every move was documented, analyzed, monetized, but something about the way he carried himself in unguarded moments, Marcus had noticed it in paparazzi photos, suggested there was more beneath the surface. "Excuse me," Marcus called out, his voice steadier than he felt. "Could I ask you something? Not for a picture or anything like that, just a question." Cristiano Jr. paused, probably expecting the usual requests. His security detail tensed, hands moving subtly toward their concealed positions, but something in Marcus's tone, his respectful distance, made the young Ronaldo curious. "What kind of question?" Cristiano Jr. asked, his English tinged with the Portuguese accent he'd inherited from his father. Marcus pulled out his phone, not to take a selfie, but to show his YouTube channel. "I do interviews about what makes people happy, real happiness, not the stuff we post on social media. I've talked to janitors, teachers, homeless people, millionaires. Everyone has a different answer, but they're all honest. I was wondering, what makes you happy?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Cristiano Jr.'s security team looked confused. They were prepared for stalkers, not philosophical inquiries from teenagers, but Cristiano Jr. studied Marcus with new interest. "You want to know what makes me happy?" he repeated slowly. "Yeah, but only if you want to answer, and only if you can be honest about it." There was something about Marcus's directness that caught Cristiano Jr. off guard. He was used to people wanting something from him, photos, connections, money, fame by association, but this kid seemed genuinely curious about him as a person, not as a commodity. "Can we sit?" Cristiano Jr. asked, gesturing to a bench outside the facility. Marcus nodded, setting up his phone to record. "Just so you know, this isn't going to be edited to make you look bad or anything. I don't do gotcha journalism. I just want to understand what happiness means to different people." Cristiano Jr. settled onto the bench, and for a moment, he looked every bit the teenager he was, uncertain, thoughtful, carrying the weight of expectations he'd never asked for. "You know what's funny?" he began. "Everyone assumes they know what makes me happy. They think it's the money, the cars, the houses, the attention, and maybe when I was younger, I thought that too. I had everything a kid could want before I even knew what wanting meant." Marcus stayed quiet, sensing this was going somewhere deeper. "But the thing that actually makes me happy, it's probably going to sound stupid. Nothing sounds stupid if it's true." Cristiano Jr. smiled at that, the first genuine expression Marcus had seen from him. "The thing that makes me happiest is when I do something good, and nobody knows it was me." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Like, last month, I was at this youth center in Lisbon, not for a photo op or anything official. I was just there because my friend's little brother plays football there, and I noticed their equipment was falling apart, balls deflated, goals rusted, no proper training cones. So I called my dad's assistant and had her arrange for new equipment to be delivered anonymously. Just showed up one day with a note saying it was from a friend of football." He paused, looking out at the Miami skyline. "Those kids don't know it was me. They'll never know. But watching them play with proper equipment, seeing how excited they got, that made me happier than any trophy or award I've ever received." Marcus was leaning forward now, captivated. "But why anonymously? Most people would want credit for something like that." "Because when people know it's from me, it changes everything. They feel like they owe me something, or they treat me differently. Or they start asking for more things. But when they don't know, it's pure. Their happiness is real, not performed for my benefit. Cristiano Jr. was warming up now, speaking faster, more animated. You want to know what else makes me happy? Sometimes I create fake accounts on social media, not to troll people or anything like that, but to have normal conversations with people who have no idea who I am. I've been in group chats about football tactics, philosophy, even cooking. People treat me like just another person. They argue with me, laugh at my jokes because they're actually funny, not because I'm famous. That's happiness. Marcus was struck by the loneliness embedded in that statement. That sounds kind of isolating though. It is, Cristiano Jr. admitted, but it's honest. When you're born into this life, you learn really early that most people see you as an opportunity, not a person. They want to be your friend because of what you can do for them, not because of who you are. So those moments when someone treats you normally, when they're genuinely mad at you for saying something dumb, or when they share something personal because they trust you, those are precious. He looked directly at Marcus. Like right now, you're not asking me about my dad, or about football, or about money. You're asking about me. When's the last time someone did that? Marcus felt the weight of that question. He'd started this interview thinking he might get some insights into wealth and privilege, but he was discovering something much more complex. What about the pressure? Marcus asked. Everyone expects you to be like your dad. Does that affect your happiness? Cristiano Jr. laughed, but there was no humor in it. The pressure is insane. Every time I touch a ball, people are watching to see if I have his talent. Every time I make a mistake, it's analyzed. Every time I succeed, people say it's because of my genetics or my advantages, not because I worked for it. You can't win. He leaned back against the bench. But here's what I figured out. The pressure isn't actually about football. It's about identity. Everyone wants me to be a smaller version of my dad, but that's not who I am. I'm not even sure who I am yet. I'm 17. Most people get to figure that out privately, but I have to do it with 8 million people watching. So how do you deal with it? I try to remember that happiness isn't a performance. It's not something you do for other people. Like, I could post about the youth center donation, get millions of likes, be praised as this generous person, but that would be performing happiness, not feeling it. Real happiness, for me, happens in the spaces between the cameras. Marcus was quiet for a moment, processing. That's actually really profound. Is it? Cristiano Jr. seemed genuinely surprised. I've never said this stuff out loud before. I wasn't sure it made sense. It makes perfect sense. You're talking about authentic connection versus transactional relationships, about finding meaning in privacy when your life is public, about the difference between image and identity. Cristiano Jr. studied Marcus with new respect. You're pretty insightful for. How old are you? 15. And I think age doesn't matter when it comes to understanding what makes people tick. Some of the wisest people I've interviewed have been kids, and some of the most confused have been adults. What about you? Cristiano Jr. asked suddenly. What makes you happy? Marcus was taken aback. He was used to asking the questions, not answering them. I guess it's moments like this, when someone shares something real with me, when I can connect with people across all these barriers, race, class, age, background, and find something universal. Like, right now, you're not Cristiano Ronaldo's son to me. You're just a person trying to figure out what happiness means. And what have you figured out, from all your interviews? Marcus thought carefully. I think happiness is different for everyone, but there are patterns. It's usually about connection, purpose, and authenticity. The happiest people I've talked to are the ones who know themselves and aren't afraid to be themselves, even when it's difficult. Even when being yourself means disappointing people. Especially then. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the Miami traffic crawl by. Finally, Cristiano Jr. spoke again. You know what's weird? I have everything most people dream of having, but I spend a lot of time dreaming of being normal, of walking into a room and not having everyone's attention, of making mistakes without them being headlines, of earning respect for who I am, not who my dad is. But you'll never be normal, Marcus pointed out gently. So how do you find happiness in abnormal circumstances? I think it's about creating pockets of normalcy, like this conversation, or those anonymous donations, or the fake social media accounts, finding ways to be human in an inhuman situation. Marcus nodded. And what about the future? Does thinking about it make you happy or anxious? Both, Cristiano Jr. admitted. I'm excited about the possibility of making my own mark, creating my own identity, but I'm terrified of failing. Of proving everyone right who says I'm only successful because of my name. What would failure look like to you? Cristiano Jr. considered this. I used to think failure would be not being as good as my dad, but now I think failure would be becoming someone I don't recognize, someone who's so focused on meeting other people's expectations that I lose track of my own values. What are your values? Honesty, kindness when no one's watching, working hard for things that matter, not just things that look impressive, treating people well regardless of what they can do for me. He paused, and finding ways to help people without making it about me. Marcus was struck by the maturity in those words. Those sound like pretty solid values for someone who's supposedly just a privileged kid. Maybe that's the thing about privilege, Cristiano Jr. said thoughtfully. It's not automatically good or bad, it's what you do with it that matters. I didn't choose to be born into this family, but I can choose how to use the advantages it's given me. And that choice, does it make you happy? When I make the right choice, yeah. When I help someone and they never know it was me. When I treat someone with respect who's used to being ignored. When I work hard at something just because it matters to me. Those moments make me happy. Marcus looked at his phone. They'd been talking for nearly an hour, and he hadn't even realized it. Last question, he said. If you could tell your 8 million followers one thing about happiness, what would it be? Cristiano Jr. was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer, more thoughtful than before. I'd tell them that happiness isn't about having more or being more, it's about being enough, just being enough for yourself. In the quiet moments when nobody's watching, it's about finding peace with who you are, not who you think you should be. He looked at Marcus, and I'd tell them that the people who seem to have everything figured out probably don't. We're all just trying to figure out how to be human. Some of us just have to do it with more cameras watching. As they wrapped up the interview, Cristiano Jr. asked Marcus for his contact information. I want to see how this turns out, he said, and maybe we could talk again sometime, not for the camera, just to talk. Marcus felt a genuine connection forming, not between a fan and a celebrity, but between two young people trying to navigate the complexities of growing up in an increasingly complex world. 3 days later, Marcus uploaded the video to his channel. Within hours, it had garnered more views than all his previous videos combined. Comments poured in from around the world, people praising both Marcus's thoughtful questions and Cristiano Jr.'s unexpected vulnerability and wisdom. But the comment that stuck with Marcus came from a user named anonymous_friend. Thank you for letting me be myself for an hour. That was the best conversation I've had in years. Marcus knew who had written it, and he smiled. Sometimes the most profound happiness came from the simplest human connections, two people, a bench, and an honest conversation about what it means to be genuinely content in an often artificial world.